welcome to Renee Restorative Counseling. I'm Kate, owner of the practice, and I am going to talk some today about do's and don'ts for when you're practicing acceptance and, the exposure to accepting panic attacks and anxiety, moments when you're having high anxiety or experiencing a panic attack. So when you're doing these exposures, there's certain things that you want to make sure you're doing, certain things you don't want to do. And that, will help the exposures actually work. So basically you can do exposures in lots of different ways. But for one example, if you're out and about and you start to feel really anxious or can tell a panic attack is coming on, or you're actively having a panic attack in the middle of having one, this is a time when you can practice that, acceptance or some of the other skills that you may learn in therapy here with me. So one of those skills is accepting, allowing, just dropping resistance when you're feeling anxious, dropping resistance to trying and get rid of how you're feeling, try to make yourself feel better. If you're in a moment and feeling anxious or feeling panicky and you want to, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to just let this happen, let it be, not fight it off so much. Here's some things to, really help with that when you're doing that exposure to make sure that it's, going to help you in the future next time. And that's what exposures do. They may not feel good in the moment, but they're prepping you to handle it better for the next time, especially. So the first thing I recommend is try not to tighten your muscles. Now, I know firsthand when having a panic attack, it's very easy to tense up and just really tighten, like your stomach, even your stomach muscles, your legs might feel tight, all of that, which makes sense. So if you're having a panic attack, then that energy is coming through you to try and fight off what it thinks is a threat. There's no threat, but your body thinks there's a threat and that it needs to panic. So it's going to send you energy to feel like you need to run or even like empty your stomach in some way. So it makes sense that your muscles are going to be tight during that time. But I would recommend practicing to release tension in your muscles. Now, you're not going to feel like relaxed, or calm even. We can't control our heart racing or feeling hot and sweaty. If our stomach hurts, things like that. We can't really control that when it's happening in the moment, when feeling anxious or panicky. What you can always control is relaxing a certain muscle group. So for example, if your stomach kind of hurts, you might be really tensing it, or even if it doesn't hurt, it's just natural when you're stressed or anxious to just like tense the torso and tense your stomach. So if you can kind of like push out your stomach and relax it, that's something you can do. No matter how terrible you're feeling on the inside, you can always relax a muscle. Another one would be your jaw. Try relaxing your jaw, or, like your legs might feel kind of tight or have energy in them. So maybe moving them around, shaking them a little bit. And it's totally normal, by the way, to shake when you're having a panic attack, especially as you're coming down from the height of the panic attack. The energy is releasing and you might shake a lot. Totally normal. But yeah, shaking your legs out, just making sure you're not holding them real tight in any way. I always like to give the example, if you have a fear of flying or don't like to be in planes, then you most likely during takeoff, maybe through the whole flight or just takeoff and landing, you might be holding and gripping on to that armrest next to you, right? I would recommend, as if you're doing that in a plane, holding onto the armrest, like release the armrest. You're going to notice you're going to want to grab for it, as if holding onto the armrest will make us feel better or make the turbulence stop or keep the plane together, whatever it is, So it won't, but you're still gripping the armrest because it just feels like you have to, like that will give you some sense of control, a false sense of control, but feels like it'll give you some sense of control. So instead, release the armrest. That's a great first step with this type of exposure. You might be really, if you like to look out the window or something, trying to look out the window, you're not sitting back and relaxing. So one thing you can do again is release the grip on the armrest, but you're hold your hands together even if they're tight there. It's just don't hold on to the armrest and maybe sit back a little bit while you're in the airplane seat instead of looking out the window and looking at everyone and doing that. If you're in the car, you may hold on to something in the car, or force yourself to be really looking, but try to sit back and release whatever you're gripping onto in a way. So that's a way you could relax a muscle and practice. The whole reason we're relaxing muscles is to show our brain that our bodies can relax, like our muscles can relax even while panicking, because it's safe to. There's no danger. So it's all about how we respond when we panic and feel anxious. And if we respond like gripping and really tight and everything's all like, oh my God, then the brain's going to freak out too. The brain will follow what your body does. If you can relax some of those muscles, it sends a message to your brain like, oh, they're like not super tense. They let go of gripping onto the armrests. They must be okay, because they're not like holding on for dear life. So, okay. That's how that works. So it's really important when you practice, trying to accept anxiety or accept when you're in the middle of a panic attack. It's not going to work if you're super tense and like holding on for dear life to whatever's around you, or even just tensing your torso. So that's one thing. Relax some muscles in any way that you can when you're doing, this type of exposure. Another thing that you shouldn't do is give the exposure a timeline. So, for example, if you are saying, I'll accept this, I'll accept and allow the anxiety right now, let it be, let it do its thing, but if it doesn't go away in 30 seconds, then I'm going back to, not accepting it, and it's not working then. You can't give a timeline on the acceptance. And it's not actually acceptance if you come back later and say, it didn't work, I'm still feeling terrible. Acceptance isn't about feeling good. It's not about, oh, this worked because I'm feeling so much better. It's just accepting and allowing how terrible it feels. So don't give the exposure timeline. Don't give a timeline like, I'll only do this for a minute, and that's fine to practice if you know that's what you're doing. The first couple times you do it, that's a good way to start. Say, okay, I'm going to allow this for 30 seconds, but just know that ultimate acceptance, ultimate recovery is when you're able to allow it the whole time it happens, eventually. So try not to give it too much of a timeline. Another thing to keep in mind when practicing the acceptance of the panic and anxiety is try not to leave wherever you are. So if you're in the grocery store, or if you're, if you were, again, back to the plane example, if you were in a plane and now it's landed, don't, be the first one to rush and get off, because you can show your body like, hey, we can be here. Like, yeah, it's time to get off the plane, but I'm going to let some people go by first, and then, we'll get off here in a little bit. Same thing with the store. Trying to stay as long as you can in the store while feeling anxious. Again, maybe as you start, just to build up the tolerance, maybe only 30 seconds. But eventually, trying to stay as long as you can. Otherwise you're letting panic kind of dictate and rule how long you stay. So showing your mind and body, like, we can stay here while we feel anxious. So trying not to leave where you are, whether that's to get to your safe person, your safe place, if that's home, try to stay where you are, while you're feeling how you're feeling. And again, slowly building that up. Another thing to not do is don't wait to do these types of exposures till you feel good. You're never, or until you want to do them. You're never going to feel like great doing these things, and not at first. And I know how it goes. Like, I don't want to do the exposure today. I'm not feeling the best. I don't want to go try to bring on a panic attack or go to that place where I know I most likely will have one, because I'm just not feeling good. Maybe, I'll do it tomorrow, because maybe I'll get better sleep tonight and have more energy to do it the next day. And if you just wait and wait and wait, you're, again, just kind of showing the anxiety that it's in control. So don't wait to feel good or motivated to do the exposure. Just go do it even when it feels really like not a good day or good time to do it. Just do it. Don't wait till it feels really good to try it out. The last thing I'll say is, please don't decide that your exposure or practice of allowing and accepting the panic and anxiety has been a failure if you still feel bad afterwards. A lot of people say, well, I had a panic attack or felt really anxious today, I practiced the allowance, I practiced letting it be there, but I still felt terrible, or I was only able to do it for 30 seconds, or it still was a terrible experience. It's gonna be the first couple times you do it for a while, and that makes sense, but that means you're making progress, so that's okay. But just expect it's still going to feel like not great. You're not going to feel totally calm. The goal with acceptance, again, is not to feel calm and make everything go away. Acceptance means you're fully letting the panic be there, however it's going to be there, however long it's going to be there, and however big it gets. So, I hate to see when people get really down on themselves because they went somewhere where they felt anxious and they practice these skills that we talk about in session, and they say, but I still felt really, really anxious. I still felt terrible. So I failed. You didn't fail. This is just how it goes. So anytime you're practicing, you're making progress. It's all about making sure that you don't get down on yourself and call it a failure and say, well, I failed because I still feel really bad, or it went poorly. Well, it's not going to feel good to fully allow anxiety. So, that's a big part too. Don't decide that it's a setback or a failure just because it felt really terrible. Expect it to feel hard. If you have panic attacks, you know what they're like, it's going to be hard to feel. But doing these exposures of practicing allowing and accepting, it doesn't feel great in the moment or good in the moment, but it's prepping you for the next time you have a panic attack, and you're slowly changing the way your brain is responding. So next time they're going to be like, oh, we were here before and they practiced, kind of relaxing their body, so we know that they can, and it already has that prep for next time because you practiced it before. So each time you practice, it's really helping you for future times where you feel anxious. But the present moment when you're feeling anxious and doing it, sometimes it feels like it's not doing much, but as long as you're practicing accepting, you are. So those are some things to keep in mind if you're practicing some of these exposures, practicing accepting when you're feeling really anxious. And this doesn't go just for panic attacks. This can go for anxious thoughts, anxious moments, racing thoughts, what if thoughts, physical sensations that freak you out. If you have a racing heart or headaches and those make you really anxious, it can go for all of that. It's not just panic attacks. Again, my name is Kate, and I'm the owner of this practice and a licensed clinical social worker and therapist. I see clients virtually. If you're wanting to work together and you live in the state of DC, Virginia, Maryland, Indiana, or Michigan, I can see you virtually. So click the button below this video if you want more info or want to work together on some of these things, and you can schedule a free consultation. And I look forward to working with you.